The Somserset and Dorset Railway closed on the 6th of March 1966 after 104 years' service. Since then, much of the line has either reverted to nature or been built over. As we shall see later, some of the locations remain as reminders of what used to be. Bath Green Park in the year 2001, a car park for a large superstore. This seems as good a location as any to revisit the S&D my father knew in the 50s and 60s. Arriving behind a Class 5 is a train from the north, possibly the Pines Express. Ivo first filmed on the S&D in 1959, and as a result we get a rare glimpse of one of the S&D's workhorses, of which the last example was withdrawn in 1962. This is Class 2P440, number 40537. Another 2P reverses onto shed. Mainly built of wood, the S&D shed had 4 roads which could hold 18 locomotives. The ex-Midland shed, built of stone, can just be seen above the roof of the coaling stage. On a typical morning at Green Park, an unrebuilt West Country and her pilot waiting to work a southbound train. A 262 tank departs for Bristol with her rake of southern coaches. Number 42896, a Horridge crab built at Crewe in 1930. With a 4F in the foreground, a standard Class 5 runs back to her train on Platform 1, which was the southern platform. The West Country and her pilot, 4F number 44523, head for Platform 1 and a southbound express. And here they are departing for Bournemouth. The crab, number 42896, gets away with her train to the north. This is Evening Star running forward from the sheds. The silver tower behind the signal is part of the water softening plant. Ivo used this vantage point to obtain his marvellous panoramic shots of the sheds. Looking west, from the end of the Midland Road goods yard, we see 210 9F number 92245 running in with the Pines Express. Peter Smith gives us a cheery wave. The Pines was only scheduled to wait in Bath Green Park for some 5 to 9 minutes. So 92245 did not have long to wait before being able to run back. A rebuilt West Country number 34042 Dorchester runs forward from the turntable, allowing 92245 to turn. From the water softening plant, a fine overhead view of another 9F, number 92210, running forward to the turntable. Note the double chimney. The 4F in the foreground is standing on the line serving the coaling stage, where ample supplies of coal await delivery. With steam to spare for the run north with the Pines Express, a Class 5 number 73003 waits for her train to run in from the S&D behind a 9F number 92001 and her Class 4 pilot. And here, after only a brief pause, the train continues its journey to the Midlands, hauled by the Class 5. The 14th of July 1962, a Type 4 peak diesel waits for the Pines Express to arrive from the S&D behind 9F number 92210. Here seen running in and swinging over towards Platform 1. An unidentified Stanier Black 5 runs past the Scarlet coach, all that remains of a breakdown train which, complete with steam crane, had been stabled here in the 40s and early 50s. On the right, a 9F being coaled and watered, and a Black 5. On the left, the 9F is standing on the boat road, so named because it ran along the back of the sheds next to the River Avon. Another good aerial view of a 9F, number 92210, clearly showing the double chimney. All of the 9Fs allocated to the S&D had double chimneys. Here, 9F number 92245 runs back towards the station to collect the Pines Express and then make a spirited departure south towards Bournemouth. Later on the same day, witness the line of coal trucks on the coaling stage, a full shed with 2 Black 5s and 2 9Fs awaiting their next duty. Here is a well-known and much respected engineman, Donald Beale, oiling his 9F number 92233. And on the right his fireman, Peter Smith. 2 other S&D personalities, on the left Locomotive Inspector Lawrence Whitley, and on the right the Bath Shedmaster, Mr. Harold Morris, who allowed my father almost a free hand to film all over the area of his sheds. Number 53808, one of the famous S&D 7Fs, stands over the pit prior to having her smoke box emptied of char. Note the steam rising from the blower to protect the fireman while he carries out this duty. This locomotive has been preserved by the S&D Trust and is based on the West Somserset line. 53808 runs forward to clear the pit. A helping hand here to save the fireman a quick sprint to the point lever. Number 53809 stands in the sun next to the water softening plant. Built in 1925, she was the penultimate locomotive of her class. Built at Swindon in 1960, number 92220 Evening Star, the last steam locomotive to be built for British Railways, was rostered to the S&D on the 8th of August 1962. She was sent to haul the last Pines Express on the 8th of September. She arrived at Green Park looking pretty dirty, but the cleaners soon spruced her up for the final run of the Pines. It's Sunday the 7th of June 1964. The number of enthusiasts betrays the fact that this is a special event. A special runs in from the S&D with 7F number 53807, piloting a 4F number 44558. The excitement is not for the S&D locomotives, but for this engine, number 7023 Penrice Castle, which came to take the train on north up to Gloucester via Mangotsfield. Ivo's notes suggest that this was a unique event, as Penrice was the only castle ever to visit Green Park. With the departure of Penrice Castle, numbers 53807 and 44558 are free to run to the table to be turned. This proved to be the last known pairing of two ex-S&D locomotives. This next shot is a rarity, recently discovered. This is the only film Ivo took of the Green Park turntable in use. Another unusual visitor to Bath Green Park was ex-Great Western locomotive number 4992 Crosby Hall, which on the 22nd of September 1962 hauled an Ian Allen special back to London. A more normal departure for the S&D, although not a regular event, is one of the 7Fs, number 53807, on a passenger train. Resting between duties is the Green Park shunter, pannier tank number 3742. One 7F on a passenger train was not unusual, but two 7Fs definitely were. 53804 and 53802 run back onto their train. This early shot was taken on the 4th of July 1959 on the cartridge camera. Unfortunately, the clockwork ran out just too soon. From atop the water softening plant again, we see another departure of the Pines Express, running north to Manchester behind a Stanier Class 5. Note the Midland Road goods yard behind the train. A fine view of a rebuilt West Country, number 34039 Boss Castle, running back on shed. Driver Harold Burford and fireman Brian Short, along with their guard, Jack Lake, prior to a brake van ride my father made from Bath to Evercreech Junction on the 25th of September 1963. Half a mile from Green Park in a westerly direction is Bath Junction, where the S&D swings south from the ex-Midland line to Bristol and the north. This is the start of the S&D metals, and also the start of a 2-mile climb towards Combe Down Tunnel. On duty today is Dave Boston, who leaves his box to put the single-line tablet into the Whittaker exchange apparatus, giving protection to the next down train as far as Midford, nearly 4 miles away, where double track recommences. Here you can see our train swinging left over the junction. Leaving Bath, with the banker exhaust clearly visible, is 7F number 53806. If you remember, Ivo's camera ran out of clockwork before the banker passed, and this is a shot of over 40 seconds. Having seen the tablet being collected from ground level, here's a view from the train on a very wet and dismal day. And now a view from the guards van as we snake over the Midland Main Line and onto the S&D. This long sweeping curve turns the line through almost 180 degrees and is the start of Devonshire Bank, also known as Bath Bank. A very clean-looking 7F number 53807 hauls the goods up the bank. In the rear, another 7F number 53801 acts as banker. It's Friday the 8th of July 1960, and this is the train being filmed by the BBC. What a change in the weather. On the 29th of March 1960, a trial was conducted with 9F number 92204 to see if this class of locomotive would be suitable for the S&D. Another rather grey day, Class 8F number 48450, banked in the rear by a 4F, ascends the bank on another test train. The 7:35 a.m. Saturdays only Nottingham to Bournemouth train, with the two 7Fs we saw at Bath earlier. My father would often follow interesting trains in his Bentley and knew where he had time to set up his camera to film them repassing him. On a summery afternoon, a more usual S&D combination of a 7F and her 2P pilot. An up train emerges from Devonshire Tunnel behind a BR Class 5. On a beautiful summer's day in the early 60s, looking down from above Devonshire Tunnel, two Class 5s haul a through express away from Bath. On the 15th of August 1959, 7F number 53807 and unrebuilt West Country number 34102 Lapford coast down the bank. A sad day. Two immaculate Pacifics, West Country number 34006 Bude and Battle of Britain number 34057 Biggin Hill run down the bank with one of the last specials on the 5th of March 1966. Happier days, 9F number 92233, unassisted with the 7:35 a.m. Saturdays only, Nottingham to Bournemouth on the 7th of July 1962. And now we enter Devonshire Tunnel. For the crew, a long quarter of a mile, still climbing hard at 1 in 50 in a very restricted space. Lincoln Vale, situated between Devonshire Tunnel and Combe Down Tunnel. Ivo thought he had everything fixed in this shot to see the whole train through, including the banker. Stanier 8F 280, number 48468, making good progress. But after all that, no banker. A cold and frosty morning, a 264 tank makes light work of the 1 in 50. At an early showing of this piece of film, my father suggested that the Class 5 was assisting the 9F Evening Star. The crew of the 9F, Donald Beale and Peter Smith, happened to be in the audience and made it abundantly clear that a 9F didn't require any assistance. This was simply a convenient way of moving the Class 5 to where it was needed. And now from the footplate of the Pines Express as we cross Watery Bottom Viaduct on the 31st of July 1962. The 9F's driver is Peter Smith as we head towards Combe Down Tunnel. Looking north, we see another down local bursting out of Devonshire Tunnel, Class 5, number 73051. Looking down from Moger's Bridge just short of Combe Down Tunnel as a 7F approaches on a sunny evening with the 5 o'clock down goods. Looking south towards Combe Down Tunnel as 4F number 44560 emerges with the 415 up local from Temple Combe on the 17th of May 1962. Another southbound freight hauled by a 7F reaches the summit of the climb from Bath Junction just a few yards from the entrance to Combe Down Tunnel. After the briefest of level sections, the gradient changes to 1 in 100 down, and banking engine's responsibilities cease once the rear of the train is safely into the tunnel. The locomotive, now reversing back to Bath Junction, is protected by a bank engine staff. Here, Ivo has positioned his camera immediately above Combe Down Tunnel mouth. With smoke from a previous train still drifting from the tunnel, another 7F approaches with a short, unbanked goods. Now we're back on board the goods van as our banker, a Great Western pannier tank, drops off. We enter the very narrow bore of Combe Down Tunnel. At 1,829 yards long, it was reputedly the longest unventilated railway tunnel in the British Isles. Leaving the tunnel, we enter Horsecombe Vale and the Midford Valley. Two BR Standard 460s, Class 4 number 75009 and Class 5 number 73054 were the Whitmundy excursion from Bristol to Bournemouth on the 7th of June 1965. A beautifully lit evening shot of the 340 up mail from Bournemouth crossing Tucking Mill Viaduct behind a rather dirty 9F. A southbound stopping train behind a standard 264 tank. Note that Tucking Mill Viaduct has been widened to accommodate double track, which was never laid. Just south of Tucking Mill Viaduct, this is the 955 semi-fast down. And on a much earlier date, a 7F assisted by a Class 4F on a down express. The 1st of September 1962, BR Class 4 number 76015 and 9F Evening Star with the 9:55 AM down semi-fast from Bath to Bournemouth. Just short of Midford Station, the long arch bridge with, just above it, the down home signal. And here we are running through the little station, with its uncharacteristic flat-roofed signal box, and on to the Midford Viaduct. Midford Box, manned today by Percy Savage. Immediately outside the box hang 3 fire buckets, which in the early 1960s still proclaimed the Somserset and Dorset Joint Railway. Next to the waiting room, atop a slender lattice pole, is the Midford Wrong Road signal, used if an up train had to set back off the single line onto the up line. Mr. Cooper, the last station master, was responsible for both Midford and Wellow. Another well-known local character is the foreman ganger, Mr. Jack Taylor from Wellow. And now inside Midford Box. The track diagram, showing the start of the double track towards the southern end of the viaduct, surmounts the various instruments above the 16-lever frame. The brass gleams and everything is spick and span. When my father filmed the box, several levers were no longer in use and were painted white. Red levers are stop signals, black are points, blue the facing point lock, and yellow distant signals. The Up Pines is offered by Wellow Box, and Percy Savage accepts it. Percy then calls Bath Junction, offering the train, and obtains a tablet giving clearance for the single line. He removes the tablet from the machine and pulls off the up starter, the inner home, the outer home, and a long final haul for the up distant, nearly a mile south of the box. The up starter and the inner home signal arms come off. Percy takes the tablet and puts it into a small pouch to fit into the Whittaker exchange apparatus. The tablet is placed on the Whittaker apparatus, ready for collection by the train engine. In this case, a 9F on the Up Pines. The other 2 signalmen at Midford were Harry Wiltshire and Charlie Eyre. Here Harry arrives from his home at Wellow. Hanging in the background between Percy and Harry are several large pouches, used to exchange tablets by hand when the locomotive is not fitted with a tablet catcher. Right up to the last day of the line, the brass was cleaned daily and the floor polished twice a week. After a brief handover, Percy Savage departs. Percy Savage and Harry Wiltshire had a total of over 90 years railway service between them when this picture was taken in 1965. A summer Saturday through train behind an unrebuilt West Country and its pilot, running freely through the station. Note the upper quadrant up-home starter signal on the left, which was replaced in 1961. A view from the top of the Wrong Road signal as number 75027, a standard class 4, drifts to a halt with the first up train of the day, the 7 o'clock from Temple Combe. Note the fireman leaning out to take the tablet from the Whittaker apparatus by hand. From a lower vantage point, the arrival of another stopping train, and you can see a large pouch in operation as the locomotive did not have a catcher fitted. With the station on the far side of the viaduct, we see the two bullied Pacifics, West Country Bude and Battle of Britain Biggin Hill, last seen running down the bank into Bath, now hauling the special south on the last Saturday the line was open, the 5th of March 1966. As we come off the viaduct, you can clearly see the start of the double track. Immediately on the left is the space that was once the short Midford up siding. From below the inner home signal, we watch a filthy Bournemouth Standard Class Mogul, number 76006, climbing away from Midford with the 110 down local on the last Saturday in December 1965. We shall see this train again later at Chilcompton Tunnel and at Burnt House Bridge. A little further out, and a down express hurries past with a Class 5, piloting a rebuilt West Country number 34042, Dorchester. Having cleared the viaduct, the run towards Wellow recommences at 1 in 60. The line clings to the side of the valley, resulting in some quite tight reverse curves. The winter of 1962-63 was severe. Despite the S&D's staff's best efforts, the snow forced the closure of the line for 3 days in January. Ivo ventured forth to capture the following very cold-looking shots. Apart from the problem of driving under these conditions, he had to walk over half a mile to reach this location. This is 7F number 53808 with a short coal train on the 15th of January 1963. (53808) again, with the 2 p.m. down goods from Bath. The 9:55 down semi-fast behind a standard Class 5, number 73054. Further south, just short of Twinnow Bridge, and up local behind an unidentified standard Class 5. Returning briefly to Midford Station, this is a down semi-fast service to Bournemouth, which didn't stop at Midford. Ivo referred to this as his miniature snowstorm shot. A 7F number 53808 hauls the 8:55 a.m. goods south, dislodging snow from the telephone wires. Spare a thought for the crew of this 7F, running tender first on the 12:35 p.m. Bath to Midsummer Norton. They don't seem to have rigged even a sheet to keep some of the cold out. Another tender first locomotive, a 4F number 44558, but at least they've rigged some shelter. These are empties being returned to Norton Hill Colliery at Midsummer Norton on the 23rd of January 1963. And up goods running quietly down from Twinnow Bridge behind 7F number 53808 with the 10:40 a.m. from Midsummer Norton on the 8th of January. This is immediately south of Lower Twin Bridge, and you will notice the camera does not move. My father, having set it going, has taken the pace to one side to take a still photograph, since used as a Christmas card. Standard Class 5, number 76029, with the 6:25 a.m. up goods from Evercreech Junction on the 26th of January. In warmer weather, we follow the line south from Midford, with the tall down advanced starting signal giving us the road. On the left is Norman Lockett, one of my father's good friends, who took many photographs on the S&D and other lines with his quarter-plate press camera. Here, a standard Class 5, number 75073, climbs away from Midford with a down local. From the brake van of an up goods, we await the passage of a down stopping local behind a 4F number 43938. Class 5, number 73051, pilot Bullet Pacific number 34028 Eddiston on the Pines Express, crewed by Donald Beale and Peter Smith, on the 3rd of August 1959. 9F number 92203 battles up the 1 in 60 gradient. This locomotive is now owned by the artist David Shepherd and named Black Prince. Two 2Ps heading south, light engine, probably on their way to Evercreech Junction to provide pilots. A 2P piloting an unrebuilt West Country, number 34041, Wilton. A 7F coasting down the 1 in 60 towards Midford. Having been held at the outer home, a 4F piloting an unrebuilt West Country, number 34044, Woolacombe, restarts the journey towards Bath. With the outer home giving the all clear, this time an up express hurries north to Bath. A 2P piloting rebuilt West Country number 34028, Eddiston. In the background, Lower Twin Bridge, as a 2P and Class 5 drift by with an up express. A cheery wave from the train engine crew of Donald Beale and Peter Smith. Although difficult to see, the Midford outer home signal is set against the train, which comes to a halt to wait for the down express to clear the single line section. A 2P and an unrebuilt West Country number 34044, Woolacombe. Much warmer than when you last visited here, an up express with a 7F piloted by a 4F sweep by. Number 92203 heads towards Wellow with a down express. And now back onto the rear of our goods train. Wellow is about a mile away. This brake van run was made on the 26th of September 1959 from Bath to Evercreech Junction on the 1235 down goods. And here is Wellow. The signal box and station buildings now form part of private dwellings, and where this shot runs out is the village car park. South of Wellow, standard Class 4, number 75072, with a down local. Class 4, number 76103, heads the 4:21 p.m. down from Bath on the 20th of September 1965. Following two glorious summer shots, here is a cold farewell view. It's the 5th of March, 1966. 264 tank number 80043 leaves Wellow with the very last 425 down from Bath. We now look south some 200 yards from the previous shots. The ridge on the right-hand side of the picture, ending level with the track, is the bed of the long disused Somersetshire Canal. A Class 5 casts long shadows in the evening sun as it hurries north with a semi-fast service. With Ivo's knack of illustrating the railway and the landscape, this beautifully framed shot shows the 3:40 up mail from Bournemouth, behind 9F number 92245. This train took priority on the line as it had to make a connection at Mangotsfield with the up postal from Bristol to the north. This double overbridge is near Shoscombe. It's the 17th of July 1965, and Class 4 number 75072 is in charge of the 437 down local from Bath. I've only filmed here once, the high stone retaining wall to the east of Radstock Station. With the wall in the background, we pass the Ginty, which will bank us from here to the summit, at Marsbury, 811 feet above sea level, and some 7.5 miles away. The engine shed in the background is where the 7F number 53808 was initially stabled after her return from Barry's scrapyard in October 1970. As Ginty number 47557 joins us, note the long iron hook hanging from the smokebox handrail. This was used by the guard to unhook the banker after passing the Binniger down home signal. Where are they now? Does anybody recognise these children? Number 53807 climbs away from Radstock, crossing over the route of the old Welton tramway. Number 53804, a little further up the bank, with a Stevenson Locomotive Society special. These shots were taken on the early cartridge camera, giving a short run time. In the foreground is the Great Western North Somerset branch from Frome to Bristol. And now we're back on the goods, with the GWR below us. We pass the Radstock down advance starting signal, giving us the road to Midsummer Norton, some 2 miles away. Crossing the GWR, the bridge is known locally as the Five Arches. Do you remember the two 7Fs, 53802 and 53804, on the Nottingham to Bournemouth, Saturdays only, which we saw at Green Park and then climbing Bath Bank? Here they climb away from Radstock. Next to Class 4, number 75073, coupled ahead of Evening Star, hauls the 955 semi-fast up the bank. Ivo has set up his camera on the bank overlooking the Norton Hill colliery line with the S&D in the background. An 8F, number 48444, heads towards Midsummer Norton Station. In the rear, Ginty number 47506 gives much needed assistance. Midsummer Norton Station isn't far away. We're back on the footplate of the Pines as we approach Midsummer Norton. Usually the Pines didn't stop here, but on this occasion the train comes to a brief stand. On the up platform are several members of our family, including, in the pink shirt, my cousin Gaithorn Girdleston, armed with a cine camera. An unusual combination of a 7F 53809 piloting West Country number 34040 Crewcomb on the 10:29 Saturdays only Manchester-London Road to Bournemouth on the 22nd of August 1959. My father often sighted his cameras on the up platform. The approach to the station was 1 in 50, which eased to 1 in 300 through the station, only to revert to 1 in 50 once clear of the platforms. On a rather damp day in 1964, number 53807 coupled ahead of 4F number 44558 with only 3 coaches and a luggage van. This is an excuse to move the locomotives to Bournemouth in order to work an up special on the following day. This is a summer Saturday extra hauled by 7F number 53806. The green fields in the background are now a housing estate. On a beautiful summer's day in the early 60s, Ivo climbed the retaining wall to the west of the station for this classic S&D combination of a 4F piloting a 7F number 53806. With Ginty number 47274 waiting patiently in the up road, we see again number 53807 with the BBC Railway Roundabout goods in July 1960, last seen on Bath Bank. In the rear, Ginty number 47577 provides banking assistance. Another goods with 8F number 48450 in charge, passing the Midsummer Norton loading gauge, which cleared freight into and out of the sidings and goods shed. Note the inspector on the footplate tipping his bowler to Ivo. In this 1959 shot from the guard's van, we pass the Midsummer Norton box and get a cheery wave from Joe Crouch. Ginty number 47465 banks in the rear, while fireman Eric Wilson takes a breather. The 28th of July 1962. 7F number 53807 with a summer Saturday extra Birmingham to Bournemouth. The 7F is not performing well. Watch the driver giving Ivo an explanation. 40 or so years on, the station is in the care of the Somserset and Dorset Railway Heritage Trust. Some track has been relaid since the taking of this film. On a warm summer day, with the town of Midsummer Norton in the background, a 7F hauls a southbound express away from the station. Here we are, high on the embankment, just short of Chilcompton Tunnel. Midsummer Norton Station is just round the bend in the distance. A 2P number 40652 and a standard class 5 on a down train, entering the short 66-yard twin bore of Chilcompton Tunnel. A 2P piloting an unrebuilt West Country number 34102 Lapford on the Down Pines Express. Here, a standard class 4 piloting a rebuilt West Country, number 34039 Boss Castle. This locomotive has been preserved and is now based on the Great Central Railway. A cheery wave from Peter Smith. This area has been used as a landfill site, and the cutting has been completely filled in.
Western Region ownership was depicted by the WR of LSWR picked out on signs. Again we see the Home Counties Railway Society special. 53807 and 44558 climb northwards through the station. Well-known railway photographer Dick Riley on the left is seen speaking to station master Mr. Jeans. The 1 in 50 gradient was eased to 1 in 300 through the station, a common feature on the Bath extension. Framed by the Goodshed entrance, two BR standard 460s pound past on an up express. The porter and the signalman watched the Bournemouth to Manchester train hauled by a borrowed 9F, as evidenced by her single chimney. All S&D 9Fs had double chimneys. "53807 on a down goods slows on the final approach to Evercreech Junction. The Bath extension came into Evercreech Junction on a sharp curve, the original Somserset Central line coming in on the straight alignment. A Great Western Collet 060 is seen alongside the original line to Highbridge, and she will come on to the back of our train. To the right is a distinctive S&D backing signal. Officially termed a wrong road signal, this authorises the driver of the collet to draw the train back from the down line onto the branch before propelling it into the up yard. The turntable at Evercreech Junction is situated between the Highbridge branch and the Bath extension. It was only of 56-foot diameter, which was too short for a 9F, and so precluded their use on goods trains between Bath and Evercreech Junction. The old S&D car park sign next to Ivo's Bentley survived to the end of the line's existence, but was stolen on the last weekend. On the 11th of September 1960, 53804 arrives at the junction with an SLS special and is then inspected by Driver West to ensure that nothing was running hot. The 7F, preserved by the S&D Trust at Washford and to be returned to steam in 1987, is seen in the station yard awaiting a northbound enthusiast special. Here she's seen departing with the special, organised by the LCGB. Yet another special departs, southwards this time, behind 53807. Ivo can just be discerned beside the telegraph pole on the left, having persuaded one of his nephews to operate the cine camera on this occasion. A very sad sight. The last S&D Bulldog, a 3F060, is seen crossing the XGW main line. Number 43682 was on her way, light engine, from Templecoombe to Derby for scrapping in summer 1962. This is the 340 Up Mail from Bournemouth, hauled by Evening Star, passing over Cole Viaduct in the late afternoon. This train had priority over all others on the S&D in order to make connection at Mangots Field with the northbound postal from Bristol. Cole was the point where, in 1862, the Somserset Central and Dorset Central met to form the Somserset and Dorset Railway. This is again the 2nd of January 1966 RCTS Special, with U-Mogul 31639 piloting West Country 34015 Exmouth, passing over the Great Western Main Line to the west. Although tried in 1954, U and U1 moguls never worked regularly over the line. Approaching Cole Station is an XGW Collet 060, number 3206, on the 220 High Bridge to Templecoombe. Cole was southwest of Bruton, and the signalman displays the station handbell, dating from between 1862 and 1875, as the line became S&D JR, when leased to the Midland and London and South Western Railways. The rather nice upstarting signal at Cole frames a 7F, 53808, approaching from the north. Bulldog sets off south with the 220 High Bridge Templecoombe, looking much more the part than the Great Western Collet 060. From another 8F we head south under bridge number 121 towards Shepton Montague. Half speed, we see a standard Class 4 piloting a 7F on the southbound Cleethorpes Exmouth, near Shepton Montague. Whilst the previous shot was taken on a lovely day, this one was very windy, as the exhaust is snatched away from the rebuilt West Country on the Down Pines. rock-cutting bridge had abnormally high clearance for the S&D. With smoke to order, a 9F emerges, driven by Bert Brewer and fired by Peter Smith. The sun did what might be expected of it and went in at the wrong moment. Just north of Templecombe, the line passed by Horsington. Here a 9F approaches from the north. The diagram shows the basic layout of the S&D and southern lines at Templecombe. The procedure for S&D trains calling at Templecombe Upper was most intriguing. In the following sequences we'll see the manoeuvres for both northbound and southbound trains. First, a northbound train. Climbing up to number 2 junction off the single line from Blandford is the 10:05 Summer Saturdays Bournemouth to Derby, passing a 4F waiting to come onto the rear of the train. After the road is set, the 4F comes onto the rear of the train and then brings it back over the crossing onto the down road to Templecombe Upper, the Class 5 still attached to the rear. Whilst another train waits for the S&D platform at Templecombe Upper to come free, the Class 5, leaving the 4F pilot at the station, runs back along the up road to run without stopping onto the north. Southbound procedure was slightly different. Here a 7F has the road direct into Templecombe Upper, but after stopping there, its train is brought back down by an Ivert 262 tank, the 7F remaining coupled behind. Once they were past the crossover, the signalman, Harry Bowles, put the tablet for the single line section in the Whittaker apparatus. The pilot was detached, and here the 7F crosses over to gain the single line. Note the tablet catcher extended at the side of the engine. The next 16 miles to Blandford was single line. Gathering speed after leaving Templecombe Upper, the northbound 415 up local from Templecombe to Bath drops down the spur to pass Templecombe number 2 junction box. After the local has gone, a 9F Horde Down Express, which had been waiting for the S&D platform to come free, runs up the spur to the southern station. This is Evening Star with the 9:55 down semi-fast. She's called a Templecombe Upper and, having been drawn back down to number 2 junction, is seen here resuming her journey south. Here we briefly see Locomotive Inspector Lawrence Whitley and driver Donald Beale on a 9F. 7 miles south of Templecombe, the S&D made the first of several crossings of the River Stour, just north of Stonington Newton. As the 9F passes over the bridge, flood arches can be seen to either side. Northbound on the 340 Bournemouth-Bristol, Evening Star rumbles over the bridge. On a miserable Saturday, during which Ivo was drenched, the 7F and 4F run light southwards towards Shillingstone in order to work the Home Counties Railway Society special the following day. In the last days, when nothing mattered anymore, Merchant Navy 35011 General Steam Navigation ran a special on New Year's Day 1966. The heavy bullets were banned from the line due to weight, but with closure imminent and the Shillingstone yard already lifted, the ban was ignored. North of Blandford, near Nutford Farm, 53807 and 44558 sweep down the gradient into the very beautiful Stour Valley near Durweston, on the special seen before. Double line was regained south of Blandford, and at Charlton Marshall a small halt was built in 1928. It was closed in 1956, but used occasionally for schoolchildren thereafter. 53804 heads south with a 908 Birmingham Bournemouth. From Corfe Junction to Broadstone Junction was the last part of S&D Metals, now single line. The 3-mile section was steeply graded and passed through a sandstone cutting in the middle of Broadstone Golf Course. This Class 5 is heading south over Golfers Crossing. At Broadstone, Ivo's son Julian talks to the station master, Mr. Shepherd. The S&D's own line ended at Broadstone, where it connected with the Southern line. After climbing up from Poole and passing through the station, a 9F with a northbound express swings left onto the S&D's own track. From the LSWR signal gantry above the Wimborne and Brockenhurst line, which ran straight through the station to Hamworthy, a panorama of the station reveals the Up Pines Express behind 92001 running through the station from Poole. It swings to its left onto the S&D, and unusually includes a Western Region chocolate and cream coach. Seen from the goods yard, another up train passes, this time hauled by a filthy Standard Class 4, 75027, a far cry from her present immaculate state on the Bluebell Railway. The engine not being fitted with a catcher, the single-line token has to be collected by hand from the signalman. Viewed from the platform, a 9F on a down express comes off the S&D's single track, joining briefly the Brockenhurst to Hamworthy line before swinging left onto the route to Poole and Bournemouth West. During the 1950s, traffic over the Somserset and Dorset, both passenger and freight, had kept up well. But in 1958 an event occurred which was to have fatal consequences for the S&D line. In a reshuffle of the regional boundaries of British Railways, the Western Region gained a dominating control over the line. 1959 dawned with the S&D still an important and busy railway, but soon the first effects of the takeover by the Western Region began to be felt. Freight traffic commenced to be rerouted so as not to be passed over the S&D line, and then in 1962 came the catastrophic announcement that as from the end of the summer service, the Pines Express and all other through trains between the Midlands and the North down to Bournemouth were to be diverted away from the S&D and run over other lines. In one deft move, the S&D had been reduced to being little more than a country branch line, providing a purely local service, and there could now be little reason left to doubt the intentions of the Western Region to close the S&D. In 1964, all night freight traffic, which included the Down Mail, was withdrawn, and the S&D closed at night. At the same time, the relentless policy continued to be pursued of diverting away from the S&D as much goods traffic as possible, until soon only one goods train per day ran between Bath and Evercreech Junction. By 1965, everywhere could now be seen dereliction and decay. Stations and other buildings had remained unpainted for years, signal boxes were being closed, and in some cases quickly knocked down and reduced to piles of rubble, whilst sidings were being taken out with increasing rapidity. Eventually came the sad but long-expected news that the S&D was to be closed on the 3rd of January 1966. However, at the 11th hour, one of the bus operators suddenly withdrew his application for a licence to run one of the bus services which was to replace the train service. Arrangements for an alternative bus service could not be completed in time, so a dying S&D, still worked by steam, had to drag itself on for a few more tormented weeks. This was much to the embarrassment of the Western Region, which had proudly announced that the 3rd of January 1966 was to be D-Day, when all steam would have been eliminated from their region. Dereliction and decay had now set in everywhere, and it was almost with a feeling of relief when the S&D finally died on the evening of Sunday the 6th of March, 1966.